Hey guys, it's the July 4th, July 1st, however you want to look at it, long weekend. If you're Canadian, it's the weekend after July 1st. It's not our long weekend, but screw it, I'm taking it off anyway. And if you're an American, then it's the July 4th long weekend. So I thought we'd do a new show here on Select Button Games called, what are we going to call it? We're going to call it One Shots. That's what I'm going to call it, One Shots. And that's where I'm going to get, I'm going to get drunk, and then I'm going to play some games. So, we're going to make a Caesar today, I think, or rather a pitcher of Caesar. We've got ice already down in the bottom here because it's nice and hot. We want to make sure that we cool off. So what is a Caesar? I know a lot of people in the US are not familiar with it. I think it was a drink invented in Calgary, if memory serves. Normally what a Caesar is 1 ounce of vodka, 2 dashes of Tabasco, 4 dashes of Worcestershire, this stuff, and 3 dashes of salt and pepper, and then 4 ounces of Clamato juice. But here on One Shots, we're just going to go ahead and, here, let's see what we can get in here. That's what's left in my vodka bottle. It's a 40-ounce bottle. That's quite a bit of vodka, definitely more than an ounce in there. And we're just going to go ahead and pour all of that in to our pitcher right here. Because, screw it, let's go ahead and get loaded. So that's all gone, as you can see. So we've got that in there. And then we're going to go ahead and, it's supposed to be 4 dashes of this Worcestershire sauce. So there's, I don't know, that sounds like 4 dashes to me. It's probably way too much, but whatever. You're supposed to use 2 dashes of Tabasco. I prefer Frank's Red Hot myself for flavoring. So we're going to go ahead and throw that in there. 1, 2, and we'll go 3, 4. We got that going on. So now we got this little concoction. God, that looks disgusting. I don't know if that color is coming through or not against the brown of my counter, but yeah, that's a thing. All right, so now we're going to throw in our salt and pepper. It's supposed to be 3 dashes of each, so we're going to just 1, 2, and 3. I like salt, so I don't care how much I get in there. 1, 2, 3 of the pepper. And then our next main ingredient is going to be the Clamato here. I have the Works. I don't think it matters. There's a spicy, there's a regular. I just prefer the Works. And let's see if we can even open it with one hand. A little bit difficult. There we go, we got it. We're just going to go ahead and fill that up right into here. There we go. That is, I definitely expected more Clamato juice in there. But hey, what are you going to do? We're going to get drunk fast on this, I guess. So we're going to go ahead and put it in our mixing container. We're going to give it a few shots around here, mix it up nice and good. And yeah, so without further ado, we're going to take this and we're going to go in there. There we go. We're going to go in there, back to the studio, and we're going to play some games. So see you after this. Hey everybody, and now that we're back, I drank all that Caesar. Mostly, I'm still having a little bit of it here. And it's strong as shit. Trust me, don't make it that way. Listen to the actual directions for how to make a Caesar that I gave you. I'm playing Gunsmoke. Gunsmoke is an NES game, as you can clearly see from the graphics. I believe it was also on the arcade. I was hella good at it as a child. I don't believe we're going to be doing too good. It's very touch and go. I don't think I'm going to be doing too good while I've been drinking, but we'll see. Obviously, it takes place in the Wild West, which, I mean, everybody loves a good Wild West, right? A good Wild West, the Wild West. Anyway, it's definitely Murica, as they say in the Wild Western times. You pick up power-ups in the form of guns along the side. It's a Capcom game, believe it or not, so the same people who brought you Mega Man and Street Fighter. Anyway, and it's kind of a top-down shooter. I think they call them shumps in Japan. Usually you're a spaceship in these kind of games, but not in Gunsmoke. In Gunsmoke, you are a Wild West cowboy, shooting everybody up. You can shoot in 3 directions, left and right, with the A and B buttons, and then you can also tap both at the same time to shoot straight up, which this may be one of the only NES games I know of that kind of combine buttons to get a different feedback. I didn't really even... Oh, good, we're gonna get the horse. The horse is awesome. So I got my little horse buddy here. He'll take a hit for me, so I'm capable of using him as a shield, for lack of a better way. I think it takes more than 1 hit, actually. And, sorry, burping a little bit. This is why you don't drink in game, folks. This is why you don't drink in game. Yeah, so anyway, he'll take some hits, and, you know, you can use him to defend yourself. He also speeds you up a little bit, I believe, which could be a good thing or a bad thing, depending on your reflexes. I don't think I've ever beaten this game. I know I can get to the, or when I'm not drinking anyway, I can get to the Indian Village, which I think is the 4th or 5th level. I haven't played it in years, so I'm not really super sure if that's true. I know some levels weren't in the arcade version. I don't know if Gunsmoke ever came out on like the Genesis or the Master System or anything, so maybe those had exclusive levels as well if they did. It really hurts the hand to kind of mash the buttons on this thing, I'll give you that much. Granted, I've been working all day, so my hands are already kind of sore, but it's one of those things where you tap the button repeatedly to do anything. Worse when you want to shoot straight ahead and you have to kind of tap both. Here's our first boss character. This one's pretty simple. He just lays down on the ground and you move around. Shooting his little buddies that he comes out who are more risk than he is. You'll see there that I took a shot, so it's a good thing that I have the horse, because you die in one hit if you don't. And we can just kind of stay off to the side here, tap the button repeatedly, and we should be able to kill the boss fairly quickly this way. There we go. Level 1 down. See, I'm not that bad when I've been drinking. I don't know, I love the music. I don't know if you guys can hear the music in the background. I'll try to up the audio levels a bit every once in a while. The game had a lot of atmosphere for the time. You got all these different guys, like this guy's Cutter Boomerang, and he's worth $12,000. Now we're in a different level. I mean, I guess what I'm trying to get at is, for the time, it was an atmospheric game. I mean, now, obviously, it's like, oh, big deal, you're moving from slightly different Browns to slightly other different Browns, and you're not in a town anymore, but at the time, this was as immersive as it gets, and this felt, honestly, like watching a Western, like 310 to Yuma or something like that, but you're in control. I know a lot of kids back in the 80s when this came out probably weren't fans of Westerns. It's more of a older person genre, if you will. But I've always been a fan of the Wild West. I don't know why. Cowboys, Indians, that whole thing. I know it's not politically correct to call them Indians, but you know what I mean. Ah, son of a bitch. We took a shot. See? Normally I don't lose a life until well into the Indian level. I just said Indians again. Ooh, try that again. Normally I don't take too many shots until we get to the Native American, there we go, levels. But that notwithstanding, the problem with this game and with all top-down shumps is that or bullet hells, actually, I believe is something else people call them, is that if you make one mistake, you lose your power-ups. And power-ups are a necessity, there we go, son of a bitch, I'm not doing well, to moving along in these kind of games. So you run into the problem where you underpower yourself by dying. Like you can see my gun doesn't shoot as far anymore, and it's not doing as much damage. And the problem that causes is the worse you are at the game, the worse your power-ups are going to be. But the power-ups can help you be better at a given part. So you're actually losing the ability to be better by being worse, if that makes any sense. I don't know if I'm coming across clearly or if it's just the alcohol talking, but basically the better you are at the game, the better the game lets you be, which isn't necessarily fair, but, you know, back in those days, games weren't designed to hold your hand. It's not like today with World of Warcraft where everything's catering to the lowest common denominator to try to get as many subscribers as you possibly can. Although, this channel certainly does that on YouTube. But, you know what I mean, they didn't need to worry, or they didn't worry, I guess, so much about everybody being able to play the game well. Because a lot of people, and I think I mentioned this on our Castlevania video with me and Nathan, a lot of people didn't get multiple games in a year. They only got one game, maybe two if they were lucky. Or, you know, maybe they didn't even own any games, they just rented games. And as a result of that, they had to get good at what they had. And so the challenge was actually there to extend the life of the game. Something like Gunsmoke, I mean, it's probably not much more levels than the Native American stage that I'm talking about. There's probably not that many more after that. But as a child, and even into today, I've never beaten that stage. So it's a game I've legitimately not beaten. Whereas something like, I don't know, Far Cry 3, amazing game, but because it's so accessible, you can beat it, and then you're done with it. You move on to the next game. We didn't have that option back then. Kids, you know, in the 80s, like myself, didn't get new games all the time. We didn't have the ability to just go ahead and, you know, pick up a different game when we got frustrated with one and never play it again. We had to power through what we had. I mean, unless you had one of those 52-in-1 games, which generally weren't actually 52 different games. For those of you wondering, by the way, these little people with the exclamation points are stores. I don't like using my money on them. I don't know why. I know there's nothing else to save it for, but you just saw the money bags come out of that one guy. It's not my style. I don't use the stores. I love the horse. You can buy the horse at some of the stores, but to me, I just feel like I'm going to wait until one of these barrels, I guess they are, gives me a horse. Just the style I have at the game. But anyway, getting back to what I was saying, we didn't get as many games. Here, I'll show you the store, actually. So there you go. It's I think it's based on your points. You can buy the horse, you can buy whatever. You know, let's go ahead and buy the horse here. I think I bought it. I'm not really sure how to get in and out of the store. Select. Aha, there we go. So you find what you want and you hit the select button. So yet another button on the NES controller that this game uses. Yeah, so anyway, games like Mario 1, by today's standards, are ridiculously hard. And I mean, that was a pack-in title. I think I read something on Reddit the other day, and it may have just been a joke post, but I think it rings true to some degree. 90% of today's gamers, or today's children gamers, can't beat World 1-1 of Mario, like the original Super Mario. And Nathan proved that when we did the past cast. He literally died repeatedly on, like, the first Goomba, the first hole, things like that, and I mean, it's so ingrained in my era's culture that we can do it with our eyes closed, basically. But I wonder, you know, if the kids of the generation today where games are so easy, you know, maybe they wouldn't even put in the time and the effort to learn it, because they don't have to. They have new games all the time. They don't have to worry about whether or not, you know, they can beat a game. They're just going to turn around and they're going to ask Mommy and Daddy for the next Grand Theft Auto or Call of Duty, and they're going to move on. So games have to appeal to everybody and be accessible today. They didn't then, so you got games like Gunsmoke, which is hard as balls, but a lot of us love it for it. Like, to today, I have not beaten this game, yet I'm sure I've said this in this video. I'm going to have to watch this back before I upload it and maybe cut some of this, because I'm sure a lot of this is duplicated. But what I'm getting at is, game design has changed a lot since the 80s. Game design in the 1980s was basically, how do we make the game last as long as possible with as little as we have to work with on the cartridge? Today, they have multiple gigabytes. I mean, we didn't even know what a gigabyte was. Most of our games were 10 megabytes if we were lucky. I think some of them were probably under a megabyte in the 80s. I'm throwing numbers out, and I'm going to shoot myself when I'm not drinking and I hear this. But anyway, long story short, games were a lot smaller, and I mean, obviously the graphics files were part of that, but so was the length of the game. And as a result, the artificial lengtheners that we had, like the difficulty factor, like things in the Mario games, yeah, you had the ability to use warp zones and you could cheat, but you didn't have to. Maybe you're gonna play some Mario 2 at some point, because that was one of the ones that exemplifies that the best. I'm honestly not a fan, and I'm gonna get crucified for this, but I'm not a fan of the original Super Mario Brothers as much as I am as Mario 2 and Mario 3. I think Mario 2 was the biggest departure for the series, just like The Adventures of Link was the biggest departure for... I'm going to have a little bit more of this Caesar while there's not too many enemies. Anyway, The Adventures of Link was the biggest departure for that series, and it was the second one. And Mario 2, or Super Mario USA, as it was actually dubbed in Japan, because it's Doki Doki Panic over there. The game that we got is Mario 2. They have the lost levels. Those radical departures from the series to me have always been kind of neat. I also like the Yoshi's... not Island. The one where he carries around Mario as a baby. Maybe it is called Yoshi's Island. Anyway, Yoshi's Adventure. I can't remember. Anyway, those games for the Super Nintendo. Where he's... oh, my horse died. No! Oh, I will miss you, horse. We had good times. In loving memory of the horse. Anyway... those departures from the standard series, to me, were always kind of interesting, and I always liked them better, because they were different. They weren't every other platformer adventure game. They always had a gimmick going for them. Kind of like why I like Gunsmoke. I mean, it's a top-down shooter, like I was saying. It's one of those bullet hell type things, but it's not your traditional space one, where you're a spaceship, and you gotta... we're at the second boss, by the way. He hasn't even shown up on the screen. There he is. There he is. Crazy Boomerang Koanger here. Boomer Koanger, that's a Mega Man boss. God, I love Mega Man. Anyway, so you'll see again here with this guy, the major difficulty with a lot of these bosses isn't the boss itself, although this guy does have a mechanic with the boomerangs that come back to him. It's how many guys they throw on screen with them and just avoiding, son of a bitch, avoiding all their shots. The problem you run into is that if you get hit once, you die. There we go. So the bosses are particularly annoying because they have a health bar, as you can see. And if you don't manage to, if you don't manage to kill them in your first attempt, the problem you run into is that you spawn back. So you'll see the first time, not so much that time, we were in bad shape that time, but the first time we had him up on screen, I had him down to 1 health box. But now he's back to full life, and we keep sucking the big one on him. I don't think we're going to see the Native American level at this rate. And I mean, it's a memorization thing to some degree, although because it's a bullet hell, it's also just learning to avoid stuff. And so I'm sure a lot of this footage is even going to even be usable, and people are going to be like, holy crap, you say the same thing a lot when you're drunk. But anyway, not that I'm even drunk. I mean, let's face it, I've only had that one pitcher of Caesars. I'm going to definitely have some more. Son of a... Okay, so Gunsmoke's done. You know what? Tune in to the next episode of One Shot where we play something else. Until then, I'm going to go get a beer because I'm out of... I don't know if you can hear this, but I'm out of Caesar. So I'm going to go get myself a beer and we're going to crack that open and we'll play something else. So, see ya!